Hello everyone, welcome to this Swish Technologies webinar, Unlocking the Power of NX CAD, Deformable Parts. Today we'll discuss the purpose of creating and using deformable parts, as well as some drastic improvements in the latest versions of NX. My name is Angie Limecooler. I am the NX CAD lead and application engineer at Swish Technologies. My NX CAD knowledge expands over 30 plus years, ranging from casting product design, die-cast design, and some aerospace tooling. I enjoy sharing my knowledge and experiences through mentoring and teaching to help others become proficient and successful. During this webinar, we'll briefly discuss what a deformable part is, a little bit about their history in NX, and then we'll focus on the enhancements that have been made in the last several versions of NX. NX provides the ability for a component to take on a different shape from its original shape as it's being installed within a parent assembly. This is called a deformable part. Deformable components are very useful objects since NX allows a component to be designed in one state and deformed into place in the context of a parent assembly. Some simple examples of these types of parts would be O-rings, springs, or hoses. These are manufactured in one shape, then stretched, bent, or compressed into place at assembly. Historically in NX, deformable parts were created and defined using the user-defined feature interface. This interface did not allow the editing of the deformed components. The capability was refreshed in NX 2406 with the authoring of deformable components now using the Template Studio author environment, just like feature templates and product templates. NX provides this rich environment for defining the deformation either numerically or driven by an assembly geometry or both. It also gives the ability to edit the definition of the deformable parts, where in the past you could not. As you can see, there have been some vast changes to deformable parts in the last several revisions of NX. So let's take a closer look at each of these. NX has modernized the user interface for deformable components in June 2024 release of NX. Deformable components now use the Template Studio author environment, just like product templates and feature templates. It also includes the ability to edit the deformation definition and more. So let's take a look. In this Y harness assembly, you can see that these hoses are taking on different shapes, even though they're the same component. If we open up the original, you'll see that it was designed in an entirely different shape. The design involved a tube feature and a profile of lines and arcs. The deform definition is stored in this file. This one is using the new UI framework. You'll notice that we're not using the historical white resolve reference boxes that we've had in the past with deformable parts and UDFs. We're now using the modern UI framework with selection widgets consistent with other dialogues inside of NX. This makes the interaction more familiar to the end user. You'll notice in the context of the assembly part that there are instances of the deform feature that stores the local deformation of the flexible hose. If we add another hose to the assembly, it places the component temporarily and it will ask for the geometric reference for the center line with the modernized UI. You can select the center line that tells it where to go. We can do it again for the other center line as well. You'll notice that these are all the same component, but they're all deformed differently. Again, this is a simple example of bringing these deformable components forward into the Template Studio Author environment that gives us the ability to have a modernized selectors and have a more familiar interface and workflow for users. With the June of 2024 release of NX, we can easily add help documentation to the definition of the deformable part. This allows users that are familiar with the question mark at the top of the dialog to launch your customized help documentation. So let's try it out. If we take a look at the deformable definition of the flexible hose, we'll see that if I choose the familiar question mark at the top of the dialog, it is unable to display the help information. Under the main dialog, you will see the Help button source style option. Context key was the only option previously available, which used the standard documentation from NX. Now we have access to a file system option by clicking MB3. This option allows us to link to an external document using native or embed the document into the part file in case you need to send these to a supplier or subcontractor. We can edit the URL by double-clicking and choosing the external PDF. Now when you choose the question mark in the dialog, it launches the PDF file. That's how easy it is to add help document to your template file. In NX 2406, you can now add multiple widgets to control the same expression in different ways, and these will automatically stay synchronized. This can be useful in creating a dialog design with simple and advanced concepts by coupling a slider and a direct key-in entry. You also have the ability to toggle the visibility of those inputs. The definition of this block model has already been configured with dual inputs. You can see that the P3 expression has been added twice to the dialog. You have the ability to add the same expression multiple times by choosing Add. We have chosen the scale option for the display style for the first expression and a key in for the second. That's all you have to do. The two expressions will automatically stay in sync. Additionally, we can toggle the visibility of those options using a Boolean expression called input style. This is a true-false expression. Unchecked is false and checked is true. We can use the input style expression to drive the visibility in the dependencies group of each of these expressions. We've enabled the visibility and said that we're looking for the Boolean operation, and if this input style equals true, then this option will be visible. Likewise, if I look at the dependency of the other height expression, you can see the visibility is still enabled, but if the Boolean operation is false, you will see this option instead. So that's how you set that up. Let's see how it works by adding a component to this assembly. You can change the visibility of these dual inputs by toggling on and off with the input style. This is just one example of what you can do with dual inputs for expressions. Remember, you also have the control of the visibility of those options, and the system will automatically keep them synced. Starting in June 2406, you can now specify whether a deformable component uses a fixed mass or a stock component with variable mass. The original intent for a deformable component was to model parts that were manufactured in specific shape, but then stretched, bent, or otherwise deformed into position within the context of the assembly while maintaining the fixed mass properties. The mass in the original part and the installed deformed component would be the same. Users then wanted the ability to use a concept of deformable parts by varying the cut length parameter of a fixed cross-section, like a 2x4 or wire, but they wanted the mass properties to vary depending on the length of the cut. We have a ladder assembly to demonstrate this. If we take a look at the 2x4 component, we can see that it does have mass. If we look at the deformable definition, you'll see that the cut length expression is using a list of choices. The mass property behavior is set to the new stock component with variable mass option. As we change the cut length expression, it's going to vary in mass. If we look at the components in the context of the assembly, you'll see that they have varying mass as installed components because of the cut length expression. This is new behavior in NX 2406. You can decide whether the mass is fixed as it is installed or whether it varies as a stock component. With the December 2024 release of NX, we've simplified converting deformable components by bringing this action to a simple MB3 operation in the Part Navigator. This makes it so simple to bring forward your older UDFs or deformable components into the new Template Studio Author environment. You'll be able to take advantage of the new flexible and robust Modernized UI and the editing capability. If we look at this older deformable part and try to make changes to the definition, you see that we cannot edit it. You would have had to delete it and recreate it in the past. Now we have easy access to convert it to the new UI framework. The Convert Deformable Part Definition option was buried deep in the menu dropdown. They have made this function easier to access by clicking MB3 on the definition feature to convert the old definition to the new UI framework. This is a very quick process. You can see that the icon changes. If we double click the definition now, you can see that it launches the Template Studio Author environment and allows you to see the new UI being used in the template dialog. You can now make any changes that you want to. So this MB3 action simplifies the access to migrate legacy deformable parts to the new UI framework. At customer's request in the June of 2025 release of NX, Siemens have expanded the ability to add mouseover tooltips to expression inputs in the Template Studio Author environment, which includes deformable components. Descriptions and/or images on these tooltips can help the end users quickly and easily understand the design intent behind each input and guide them to start using templates more quickly and with greater confidence. Let's take a look. When we edit the definition of this previous 2x4 part, we will see the expression for the cut length. The cut length expression has a list of choices. If we want to add a tooltip to the cut length expression, we can highlight it and expand the tooltip options. We can double-click the tooltip string and enter some text for the tooltip. We can also add a text string for the list of choices if we want by expanding the display style and entering text for the tooltip strings. Now you can see the tooltips for the cut length as well as the list of choices. As we see, adding these tooltips is very simple, which will help the workflow of our end user. Also, as a customer request in NX 2506 release, the ability to explicitly choose the number of decimal places that will be displayed in a label widget was added to the Template Studio Author. Historically, when label widgets had been selected as a display style for an expression input, an X has always shown those extra zeros after the decimal place. In many cases, these extra zeros were unnecessary. NX Template Studio Author now gives you full control over the number of decimal places that will be displayed, helping end users of your templates more quickly and easily understand the feedback you're trying to provide them with the label widget. Looking again at the 2x4 model, you see that we've created a measurement feature for the bounding box. This measurement calculates the length, width, height, and volume of the 2x4. We'll display this measurement as the order size in the dialog. Currently in the dialog, you see the extra trailing zeros that are not needed. When we change the thick expression to the label display, that allows us to modify the number of decimal places we want. We'll enter 1 for the decimal places and also modify the title by adding a colon and a space. We can change the rest of these expressions in the same manner. Since the Template Studio Author now gives you full control over the number of decimal places that are being displayed with the label widget, it will help create an easier dialog for the end users to understand. With the June of 2025 release of NX, this new nested options control is perfect for situations where you have a set of options that depend on each other, where a selection in one option menu drives changes in the available options in the menu below. In the past, we've been able to do this in templates using list expressions and some expression logic, but with this new technique, using a spreadsheet will create a set of option menus very quickly. The spreadsheet describing these options can be referenced either directly in the operating system, within Team Center, or embedded directly in the template part file. Here we have a hollow square tube model that contains two datum CSYS. One is at absolute, and the offset CSYS is used for positioning this component in the context of the assembly. When we edit the definition, we'll see that the offset datum CSYS has been added to the template for positioning. You'll also notice that the selection of the CSYS has already been added to the dialog. We now have the new nested options control widget that can be added to the UI. This new widget allows us to access a spreadsheet to build us the new nested options control in the dialog. This spreadsheet can be embedded or accessed from the operating system or Team Center. As we preview this spreadsheet, you'll see the expressions listed across the top, and at the very bottom you'll see we have an end. This format will be understood in the Template Studio Author to build a set of UI for us in the dialog. When we choose a spreadsheet, you'll see the new nested options control that have the expressions available and some details of the other parameters in the spreadsheet. We can change the title to 2 parameters if we want and finish the definition edit. Switching to this assembly will add the hollow square tube component and position it relative to the existing CSYS. It will prompt us to select a CSYS for positioning. Then we can choose the 2 parameters we want for this instant. As we select different square sizes, you'll see that the thickness options change automatically based on the spreadsheet. This is just one example of how the spreadsheet can be formatted to build the UI in your dialog. Just know that there are many other formats of the spreadsheet that can be done. This new nested options control is available for product templates, feature templates, and deformable parts. That concludes this webinar about deformable parts. I hope you found it useful to you and your team. I'd like to thank you all for attending.